Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Saturday morning. Hope everyone's okay. Hope everyone's all right, and hope everyone's looking forward to obviously game day today. Ipswich Town away at 3 o'clock UK time. So we're looking at 6 hours time from now. Obviously, big game in. I say big game every weekend, but it is the Premier League is always a big. It's always a big weekend. There's always big games and everything like that. So yeah, big game for us this weekend. Obviously, off the back of um, two Premier League wins, obviously two Premier League clean sheets as well. Let's hopefully make it three in a row. Let's be real here. Let's hopefully make it three in a row. So we'll be talking about the game in its entirety. We're going to be talking some of the stuff that came out of the press conference yesterday. Some really good stuff out of the press conference from Ange yesterday. We have some injury updates. We have some quite nice revealing things surrounding Jed Spence as well, and kind of the quote unquote attitude issues that he may have had or had. Hence why I'm saying, the quotation. All right. We'll talk about that as well. So obviously game today, we obviously won't know what the Premier League looks like in terms of the table after our game, because there's still plenty of football to play. But looking today, obviously Brentford won yesterday 4-0 away to Leicester City. You got Everton, Man United at 12:30, and then we're in the 3 o'clock games with Fulham Palace, Southampton Brighton, Bournemouth Wolves, and Arsenal West Ham. So we're within those 3 p.m. kickoffs. Look, for me, I try not to look at the other teams too much and what they're doing. Morning, Hogs, mate. All right. And Spurs and Luke, how are we all? I try not to look at what those teams are doing too much, if I'm honest. It's different to review it after a weekend, but worry about ourselves. That's the way I'm going to look at it this weekend. Worry about ourselves and get the win this weekend. You go into the Man City game off the back of 3 wins. They're going to go into that game, obviously, having been dumped out of the Champions League by Real Madrid. They're going to want to make amends. I'm glad that we're not playing them this weekend. I'm glad we're playing in the game after. Obviously, Liverpool playing this weekend, so it doesn't get any easier for Manchester City. But for me, winning this doesn't get us any further up in the league table, right? We know that. But momentum is a scary thing. Momentum is a powerful thing. And I just think a win this weekend, a win today, I don't need to say this weekend, but a win today, it's infectious. When you then start to think about, when I talk about the injury issues with Mickey and Kuti and how they're going to be back in short time, and Dominic's not far from being back, you start to factor all these things in. If you're going into those guys coming back, you then start to go, oh, hang on a second. The big boys, the Avengers, are all on their way back, and you've got momentum. That's a scary, scary thing to think about. And I think that's the way we should think about it. Not think about, oh, we can't go any further in the league. Oh, look at these teams. They're all winning. This team's playing that team. Worry about ourselves. Pick up the 3 points. Keep, in cricket, they say keep the scoreboard ticking over. If you can't hit 6s and 4s, hit the singles, hit the 2s. Same with us. Keep the scoreboard ticking over. Keep going on. Apart from Bell, Brady, who's the third shirt off? It's nothing. It's just one of those shirts, but there's no name on the back. It's before most people's times. How I got that shirt. Morning, Cozy, right? Kulu, Son, and Pedro needs rest. I'm not unks. I'm not unks, mate. I'm not that old just yet. I think morale's up with the lads in a convincing win today. Yeah, no, exactly. I think a convincing win today really would fester in a nice way. Looking at team news, obviously came out of the press conference yesterday. Ange said there's no new concerns. So from last week, everyone got through okay. And the 3 guys who picked up a knock last week are all good. Obviously, again, having a full week to recover and prepare is good. And the other guys are ticking along well. We've now got 2 games in quick succession in the league. Good opportunity for us to get some match minutes into guys who have been out. We saw Brennan and Wilson, obviously. Vic came back last week. Matters and Destiny as well. We need to get them some match minutes. And these 2 games will give us an opportunity to do that. Then we've got a week before the first Europa game. We've got a weekend off. And again, that's about the time we're hoping to the guys like Romero and Mickey in particular, they should be in and around that sort of mark. So that's a little bit of good news. I'll talk about what he says about Richie and Dominic in just a second, but that's a bit of good news. The fact that, having the two centre backs back and having them back, hopefully, I mean, there was chatter that they're going to be back for the AZ Alkmaar first leg. I look at them more so as Bournemouth at home the weekend after that. I think, that's the 9th. So having them back for that, I think, is more likely. Again, playing Davies and Danso in that AZ Alkmaar game, I have no issues with. Having those two guys then back, if you want to put them back in for Bournemouth, or you want to put one back in for Bournemouth, and if one's more ready to go for AZ, maybe you sort of split them up for a game and, ease them back in. And, regardless, having them back is going to be so important. Did you hear what Carragher told? He told that Haaland was not injured. He was scared of Rudiger. He was ill. He wasn't injured. He was just ill. It was a match time decision to see if he could go, and Haaland said he couldn't start because he wasn't feeling well. Carragher's a donkey, mate. Don't worry about him. You're all good. So moving on to what he said about Richie and Dom, he said Richie and Dom are not too far behind, to be honest. And again, with that, we sort of got 2 games before the international break, so we're kind of mapping it out and trying to sort of navigate a way where we can have everyone as fit as have as fit as healthy squad as we have had all year for the run-in. So a little bit of good news. I don't think those two. I think Richie's was only going to be a few weeks to a month. Dominic's was obviously about 6 weeks or so. Having them both back, by mid-March, and having everyone back by mid-March, other than Dragoshin, I think it's going to be so welcome to see a Spurs squad and looking on the bench and going, there's so many people you could choose from on this bench now. We have options, On Romero, he said it's going well. He's in a good place. With him and Mickey, it's about picking our moment now. I'm really keen to get them back and have him back for the rest of the year. We've got a period coming up where we think we can manage when they're back. So he said, yeah, he's just going well. It's going well for him. He's in a good place. I'm really keen to pick the right moment with him and Mickey to make sure we've got them for the rest of the season, which is really nice. I think obviously there was chatter that Romero was needing one more. I think it was one more test to be ticked off to say that he's okay, he's fit, and he's raring to go. And then he can go back to first team training. So I think, by the sound of things, Romero's probably only a couple of weeks away now, which is really, really exciting. Obviously, because there's an international break. That's why I'm saying it's a couple of weeks away. 6th of March is when we play AZ. You would expect one of Mickey or Kuti to potentially be all okay to play that game. If not, definitely Bournemouth the weekend following it. Do I think a doggy will start? Maybe, actually. Yeah, I could see a doggy starting. Yeah, I can see a doggy starting this weekend, thinking about it. When I did my preview, I said, Spence and Porro, and they may throw on Destiny for the last half an hour. But if Destiny can play, if Destiny can play 45 to an hour, I don't have any issue. I mean, I'd rather him start the game. That if something was to go wrong, you're not obviously jeopardizing the rest of the team because you've already used him as a sub. So yeah, if he can go for 60 minutes, I have no issues with him playing 60 minutes. And then getting him off and getting, I have no issues with Porro not starting this game. Not because I don't think he's a good player. Obviously, I thought he played really well last weekend against Manchester United, and he played well against Brentford. But I think getting him that rest will be super beneficial for the rest of the season. Having then Spence play the right back for that time, having Destiny at left back, and then, subbing Porro on at half time, even if it's Destiny playing one half, you sub Porro on at half time, you move Spence over to left back. I'm well on board with that. Well on board. After listening to what Ange said, I think he'll for sure start Johnson. Could see it. Even Amarim, how are we? Ange told that the test was positive. There you go. No, I'd play Gray. I wouldn't play Gray over Davies. I'd rather Davies back for the centre back area. I really hope Kula and Porro get rested today. I could see them getting rested today. I could, absolutely. Romero won't be back for the international break. No, he'll be back after the international break. And if what you're meaning to say is he'll be okay to play for Argentina, he won't be playing for Argentina. He's still not cleared to play yet, basically. Uh, the international break, ironically, has probably just come about a week too soon for Romero, maybe 2 weeks too soon. But no, he won't be off to Argentina. If he's off to Argentina, that's not on Romero, by the way. So I don't want any fan to go, all he cares about is Argentina. That'll be on the club not being strong enough to say, mate, you're not going to Argentina. You've not played for us enough to say that you're fit enough to go and play for Argentina. Who will play you 90 minutes a game, which isn't in what we're trying to do. And I think the key thing is when we were talking about the quotes from Ange, he said he wants them, they're trying to map out the rest of the season with these players. I think that is involved in it, international breaks, because this is the last one now until the end of the season. I think he's trying to say, look, we're going to map out the rest of the season. Certain players who could be on the cusp of going to international break, they're not going. Because as a club, this is the thing. As a club, you pay their wages. They are your employees, right? If they're happy for you to go, they're happy for you to go. But if you're not 100% fit, and this is where my issue is with the club, I think the club failed last time with Romero because he played in Ipswich because obviously he was injured the game before. He played against Ipswich, which obviously is the corresponding fixture, and he wasn't right. You could tell he wasn't fit in that game either. He then goes to Argentina and gets injured. He wasn't fit to play. In my opinion, the club should have been like, mate, you're not fit to play. I know you love Argentina, and I love that you love Argentina. It's a beautiful thing. And I wish some players loved their country more than they actually do. But we need you fitter than ever at the moment. Let's get you 2 weeks rest. Watch Argentina on the TV. Stay up late. Stay up till 1 a.m. Watch them on TV. We need you fit, though. We need you here. I wish the club put their foot down a bit more on certain players. They do it with some, they just don't do it with others. And I think they need to be, even if it's like Son. I know Sonny's obviously massive, but if Sonny's not fit, he shouldn't be traveling all across the world to play for his country. That's my attitude when it comes to certain players in this squad. Put your foot down and say, mate, you're not fit. You aren't fit right now. You need rest. We need you here for recovery. You know? That's my thinking. Will Odegaard get 45 today if we go in half-time 2-0 up? No, I don't think he will. I think Odegaard will get half an hour today. Obviously, how many minutes? Spurs versus Man United. Oh, look at that. We won 1-0. Let me have a look what minute he came on in. So he came on in the 87th minute. So I don't think he'll be right for 45 just yet, maybe. Obviously, after quite a big injury and surgery. I think he'll get half an hour today. I think that's a nice gradual step, a nice half an hour. Same with Man City. After the international break, AZ Alkmaar, let him run riot. Just let him run riot. I mean, that was the game of AZ Alkmaar that Mikey Moore destroyed them. You know, so there you go. I want to meet your Madre, pay my respects to your Padre. That must be a quote from a song. Morning, Sonia. How are you? So look, there's that. He talked about Jed Spence though, and he said, I think with Jed, it was just we wanted to give Jed every opportunity, and you know, we knew that certainly there was a player there, but a lot of it had to be up to Jed himself, and he's just worked really awfully hard and stayed patient through that early period. It could have been easy for him to get frustrated when he wasn't playing a lot. There was opportunities for him to play, and he wasn't getting a run. I think looking at his attitude through that, I think there was real growth for him. And personally, in that maybe in previous years, he might have given up. And he said, you know, right, I don't fit in here. Let's just move on. But he just kept going. That makes an impression on people around him, me, his teammates, and he's earned that shot. And he's just grown since then. And it made me think, that quote. It made me think because he had said himself, Spurs fans haven't seen the true Jed Spence. And that was at the start of the season, right? Before, actually, it was in pre-season. Before, actually, it was at the end of last season, before pre-season. And he said that. And everyone went, God, everyone keeps telling us he's got attitude issues. You know, the Leeds boss, Daniel Farke, said he had attitude issues. You know, Neil Warnock, attitude issues. Is this... Oh, is this all chatter? Is this all word of mouth, or is this I'm actually going to show you? And then I think Ange probably saw some stuff in training that he wasn't too keen on, and which is fine because we don't see training, we don't see everything, right? We only think what we know, and that's about it. But he saw it in training, probably went not rating that, kind of put Jed's feet to the fire. And actually, when we had that away game at Bournemouth where you had some fans obviously verbally abusing our players and verbally abusing Ange and, fat shaming him and things like that, who was the one guy that was there with Ange? Who's the one guy there pulling Ange away? Who's one guy that actually cared? Jed Spence. Wasn't playing football at that time, but it was Jed Spence. And I think that's absolutely fascinating that the career arc that Jed has had really only in the last, 2 months? Maybe 3? We'll give you 3 months, be nice. What a turnaround from that period then 3 months ago where he was never playing, didn't get any minutes to, is he the first name on the team sheet at the moment? He might be. So I'm just saying, I'm so happy for Jed. He's put the work in. He deserves every single minute that he's getting football-wise. He deserves everything he's getting at the moment, and he's he's been fantastic for us. And I was excited when we first signed him. I was obviously then one of those that thinks, sell him. If he's not good enough, sell him. And he stuck true to the course, and well, he's more than good enough, isn't he? He talked about giving players more time off this week for rest as well. And he said, I think it helps enormously because, there's obviously physical toll, which we kind of know, and their bodies are being able to recover as much as anything else. And then, like I said, mentally it does. It takes its toll because you don't invariably get a lot of time to switch off when you've got games constantly because, again, you're in recovery mode. And then you've got to prepare for another game. You don't really have the energy to do anything else. So, home life probably suffers a fair bit. And the ability to switch off is difficult. So we gave the boys 2 days off at the beginning of last week. We did a similar thing this week. That, by the way, is great. Those guys are getting even more rest, and that's beautiful because I think you're going to see a Spurs team who I think for the most part last weekend were better than Man United. This weekend, you'll see the similar sort of thing. They'll be able to press from the off. They'll press to every corner of the pitch. The link-up play will be a bit sharper. They'll be a bit more aware and a bit more switched on, and they'll track back that little bit harder. And I think it'll make a massive, massive difference this weekend again. And obviously, you've got them one more game leading into the international break, and they should come back after the international break fairly fit, ready to go again for AZ Alkmaar. When Slade comes back, you reckon Ange might try tell at right wing? I do. I wouldn't sign Dele, no. Morning, let's get revenge and tap up Delat while we're at it. Well, we tried that at their end. It didn't really work so far, which is annoying. What have you missed, Indiana Stones? We're going through some of the Ange quotes from the press and me just talking generally about Ipswich, mate. You've not missed too much. Good performance and any win. I just get really upset when prediction channels predict loss or draw for Spurs. It's not fun, is it, Cozy, mate? It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not fun. We saw Spence's breakout promotion with Forest, though. We were here, weren't we, Callum? All those years ago when we were talking about Jed Spence signing for Spurs, we were here talking about it, eh? Back in the day, the good old days. I like Jed, but I feel like he had some attitude issues. But I hope he does not waste his talent. He has. It reminds me like Dele with attitude. Dele never had an attitude. Dele was brilliant, actually. Dele was a model professional, really, when it came to us. Loved the club, loved all the fans. With Jed, it was weird because obviously we signed Archie Gray, right? Archie Gray is the guy that kept Jed Spence out of the Leeds team. Jed occasionally played left back, but he didn't really play right back because Archie Gray was playing right back, which says a lot how good Archie Gray was, by the way. But for Jed, it's like, I'm just happy for him, that there was chatter around, he has attitude issues. And I always said, look, if that's true, I never said if, I was never really one of those that says, well, it's true, he has attitude issues. And if it was true, then you move him on. That was my thinking. And I think that's a normal thinking. Whenever you're in a workplace, you work with someone that has attitude issues, no one really likes them. But actually, you watch some of the videos out of training recently. Jed Spence is like the main character. He's the main actor in all of it, and I'm just happy for him, Do you feel like Ange does not prefer Maddison? No, he's managing Maddison. There's a difference from substituting Maddison because you don't like him, and there's a difference between managing his minutes. The reason Maddison has stayed as healthy as he has this season is because we've managed his minutes. Getting him off 60, 70 minutes and not playing him the full 90. Sometimes starting on the bench is because we're trying to manage him and trying to keep him fit for the whole season. Otherwise, we have what we had last year and we lose him for 2-3 months and we then fall apart because of it. Even when we were down injured and things like that, we tried to get Maddison even some rest every time, every now and then. So, yeah, he loves Maddison. All right, don't worry. And should say he personally made things harder for Spence, although I get the hard love. I still don't get why it was necessary given the fact we didn't have right back cover. Tough love is something, and sometimes it just makes all the difference in the world how you deliver it. I hope this is Tell's breakout multi-scoring game. It would give him a lot of confidence and team belief, momentum, and that's everything. Well, yeah, I think Tell does score today. Because I thought he would start striker. I thought him, Maddison and Jono, I said would be the goal scorers today. So I still think he will. Sean, how are you, my friends? I meant that Delhi did not prioritise football with that much training. Well, he did it first, and then, things took over in his personal life, unfortunately. Incoming Tell hat trick. We will be there. We will be there. More from the Ange, though, and he talked about more of the rest. And he said, I think you can see that in them both physically and mentally, they've really benefited from the rest. And hopefully that means that the remnants of that long run has dissipated in their minds as much as in their bodies. But it's also allowed us to really train well because when they do come back in, they are refreshed. They feel good. And it means our training has become so much more sort of meaningful in the last 2 weeks. I think that's massive, by the way. Next up that I'm talking about, by the way, is Archie Gray in the midfield. Don't worry, he talked about that. But he's right. When we haven't been able to train really ever in the last few months, I think it has reflected on field as well. Whereas we've trained probably a bit more over the last 2 weeks and we've won both games. I think it's a real thing. I think it's a real thing. They're getting rest and they've trained. It shows in performance levels. Now, obviously, when you are playing every sort of 3 or 4 days, it's hard to train. That's another point in it. But that's why you have a big squad that you might get a little bit of training in. Nothing too intense, but a little bit of training. Obviously, the people that go, Ange injures all our players in training, they're idiots. I'm never that one person to say they're idiots, but they are because it's not true. It just shows that this week we've had training and players haven't got injured, by the way. Shock. He talked about Archie Gray in the midfield. He said, the way it's going, never. I was tempted to put him in goal because we were down a 5th goalkeeper. He said, whatever happens, and I know there are people sort of really keen to put him in there, I think the experience he's had this year is going to be outstanding for him and outstanding for us. He's taken on every challenge we've thrown at him, not flustered, got on with it, performed at a really good level, and contributed to the team as an 18-year-old in his first year in the Premier League. He'll get to where he needs to get to in good time, but this period here, I think, is going to be enormously beneficial for him. And that's right. For me, I obviously, like you, would love to see Archie in that midfield. I would love to see Archie in that midfield. And we haven't seen him due to the injury issues that we've had. That's a given. It's not because Ange doesn't want to play in there. It's because Ange has gone, well, technically, he's still our 3rd centre-back at the moment, and he's still one of our fullbacks at the moment, and hopefully we will start to see him more and more over the coming, couple of months in the midfield, because obviously we'll have Romero back, Van der Ven should be back. You got Davies, you got Danso, you've got Destiny and Spence and Porro. He might in theory still be a backup fullback as well, due to us having not, credible depth either there or at centre back. But for me, I said his development, I'd rather him play 90 minutes at right back than play 10 minutes at centre mid. I'd rather him get those minutes because actually he's learned left back, he's learned right back, and he's learned centre backs and what we want from those positions. So as a 6, he then realizes where he, right back should be here and the centre back should be there and the left back should be there. I need to be here. As a number 6, he goes, what would I want my number 6 to do when I was playing centre back or I was playing fullbacks? and then acting on that, with instinct. So I think his development, he's developed so much from the start of the season when we saw him to now. He's a much better player. So when I talk about Lucas Bergvall, the Lucas Bergvall that if you think when we played Ipswich all those months ago and he played in that game to now, two different players. That this Lucas Bergvall that plays right now compared to the Lucas Bergvall player then, this Lucas Bergvall would eat that Lucas Bergvall alive. And the Lucas Bergvall that I see at the moment looks like he's going to be an absolute rock star for us, like Archie, both going to be rock stars. So for me, I obviously like Ange would love to get him minutes in the midfield. He's obviously not had minutes in the midfield because we've had no one to play in defence, and someone has to play in defence at some point, and it's had to have been him. His development will have been fantastic for it, and he will be a much better player for all of this. So when he does play in the midfield and he's the starting number 6 in the next 2 years, there'll be a reason why. Defensively, he's going to be 10 times better than he was previous, and he was a decent defender already. He's going to be better when it comes to getting on the ball and helping out his fullback. So yeah, I as much as I want him in the midfield, I've had no issues in playing defense in theory. 3-0 win today. Come on, Spurs. More Nordics get a win today. Absolute MS. How are you, mate? D-boy, how are you? Do you think Gray can play left wing? Son needs support there. I think Gray, his next position will play striker. I think that's his next position, and then we'll sort of go from there and we'll sort of see how it goes. But yeah, he's going to be a rock star. He's going to be a rock star. He's a future England international. I know he's playing under 21 football already, but he's a future England international for a reason. So, yeah, no, really, really good. But look, I still think today, 3-1 Spurs. It's my thinking. Obviously, kick off 3 o'clock Spurs. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the game. Obviously, off the back of 2 wins, let's see if we can get that third. Anyway, go look after yourself. Go enjoy the rest of your mornings, afternoon, evenings, wherever you are in the world. And I'll speak to you all potentially later after the Spurs game for a review. If not, it'll be tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Peace.